Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Henderson Equipment. It's a beautiful night. I got a little bonfire going in my burn barrel, and what better night but to do some machining. So let's get into it. So if you guys saw my previous video on this thing where I bought this at an auction, I think that was about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I can't really remember. But in any case, ever since I got this Bridgeport, I've been using it, I've been abusing it, I've been breaking stuff, trying to learn and teach myself how to properly, machine. My grandfather was a machinist, J.B. Henderson, and I need to incorporate machining into my business. I get a lot of requests to deck heads and machine surfaces, intake manifolds, exhaust manifolds, and I can't do it properly without the right tooling. So in this video, I'm going to steal Spanky's patent, and I'm going to build my own fly cutting tool so I can machine and deck surfaces. So the reason why I'm stealing Spanky's patent is because I've been going to Spanky school late at night, and he's been teaching me how to properly use my Bridgeport, use the right techniques, understanding a lot of things, and it's been very helpful. So I went to my local steel mill and I said, hey look, I want a big chunk of steel, like a 1-inch chunk of steel. Can you cut me a chunk of steel in a 10-inch diameter? And so that's exactly what they did. They took a plate steel and they used a plasma cutter and they cut this big round 10-inch steel. So this is a great start. What I got to do is I got to drill a hole in this. I got to make it acceptable for an arbor, and then I got to do additional machining and create an insert so that way I can, I can start decking heads. So let's find the center of this thing. Use my Bridgeport to drill, and I'm going to use my Bridgeport to make this entire thing. Let's see how we do. Using the 1, 2, 3 blocks just for Spanky. Just kissed her. We got a hole. This is the arbor I'm going to use, and there's a little lip here from all my entry points in the steel, and I'm going to leave that lip because I think I'm going to need a little gap for when I'm welding, because I'm going to have to weld this end and the other end, and I can push the metal a little bit under here to grab a hold of something. But yeah, that's what it'll look like. I think that looks pretty good. That's pretty tight. Actually going with a thinner rod here. Thinner than I normally use. But I really want good penetration. I think I'm going to leave this little, we'll call it a titty. Leave this, I don't know where my hammer is. Leave this little titty of a weld on. Might look goofy, but the cutter will be hanging down deeper than that, so. It is time to true up this table and make sure that the plane is pretty much perfectly level because I'm going to start cutting this thing. Like I'm going to start like using this. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to make this plane level because I'm going to put the flywheel cutter into the Bridgeport, and I'm going to use my vise. I'm going to turn this into a lathe pretty much and start milling off or cutting off material. I'm going to have another beer. Took me about an hour, but I finally got this table, pretty darn level on the X and Y axis. So I'm good for the cutter itself, but now I want to make sure that my vise is perfectly in line on the x-axis with my J-head, so because I'm going to start turning this thing. So let's get this one together. We are going to call that pretty damn good. I'm going to say confidently. So confidently, I'm going to say that one, Linkin Park is the best band that ever to be, and two, I must have been wildly off on my center because I took 50 thousandths off and still not touching in some areas. Mortar machine. Look at all this stuff. Nice. Look at that finished cut. You know, that ain't half bad. Ooh, damn. We're on to something. Tell you what, ain't no fine finish, but it don't look half bad. Shit. I'll tell you what, I've been doing like absolutely just wild shit with this thing. Rotated this 90 degrees so I could turn it literally into like a lathe, and then it honestly it worked really good, way better than I thought it would. I was able to cut some serious metal off. I'm learning throughout this process too, And I noticed that speed is very important to the machining process. Now, I said speed is very important to the machining process, but that's kind of vague in the machining world. So what I mean by speed is the RPM that either your part or your cutting tool is spinning at in relation to, you know, your feed rate of how much are you cutting off. So I probably started, you know, going too fast, you know, and then I finish off going a little too slow too. Again, I'm learning here, but you know, if I'm going to cut a decent amount of material off, I want my RPM to go, you know, slow, you know, where if I want a finish cut, I want the RPM of the part or the tool to be faster. But I got to be careful with how much material I whack off, because if I cut off too much material at too much of a speed, you're going to get chatter, which, you know, in turn is going to make for a shitty finish. But again, if I go too slow, then it's going to take me forever. So it's definitely finding a happy medium here. What I'm doing now is I am rotating my head back over. So that way I can, you know, make this look like more of a mill again. And I need to, you know, make a channel in my fly cutter to accept my tooling insert. That's, you know, is really what's going to be needed to actually, you know, cut these heads. So this is my first time, you know, ever rotating this head like this. Never had to do it, but it's pretty cool. It's good learning too, because, you know, I got to turn this and then make sure, if you were watching and paying attention, like I made this plane perfectly level. Well, when I rotate this 90, I got to make the plane of the part perfectly level to the table or to the vise. So it's cool to me. So what I'm doing with my calculator is, first what I did is I found the center of the fly cutter. I wasn't too sure the best way to find the center. I probably found it in an unconventional method, but it worked. I think it worked. So what I did is I found the center, I checked it, and it looked spot on for my eyeball. So now I'm stepping the cutter over, because I'm going to put, you know, a cut into the edge of this for the cutting insert. And now I'm going to cut it. And the reason why I'm stepping it over is, you know, we want the edge of that cutter directly, I was going to say in line or perpendicular, but whatever Spanky's word is, we want it directly tangential of the cutter, I think. Ran out of oil. This should be the last cut. Channel looks good. Oh, baby. Right on the money, baby. Man, there's like no slop either. Whoa, yo, Spanky would be proud. This cute little thing. I'm going to deburr it, but that's going to be the insert.
or the insert holder, I guess. So it'll hang down like that. Right? So now, I put a 1/4 inch hole in my little tool holder. Now I'm putting a 3/8 cutter in, and I'm just going to plunge down a little bit so that way my fastener, little stainless steel fastener, will drop right in and the head won't be seen. So I'm going to lift the table up as I'm drilling, and I'm just going to go to a 1/4 inch depth. Point 1. Point 2. Point 2.5. I'm gonna go an extra 1,000. Let's go an extra 2,000s for shits and giggles. Let's bring it back out. Let's see how we did. Let me wire. Can you see that? Got a little taper there. Wow, look at this little button I milled out. Huh. Gotta fasten this grinder down. So the thought is this will fit in, and yeah, I mean, honestly, it kind of threads in, it drops right in, and then I could thread this into the fly cutter. Look at that. Almost looks professional. That's what it will look like. This thing spin. Let's turn this on. Well, I guess let's test it. So it's finally time to test my custom fly cutter, and I'm looking around to see what engines I could test this on. And I said, you know what? I know my father would want me to test it on his engine. So I still have my father's tractor from a video I did a long time ago. I never finished it. And I actually just sent the engine out to get rebored. But the head I was going to do myself, and so I'm going to test out the machine or the fly cutter on my father's head. It's a little risky, but I know my father would want me to experiment on his tractor rather than someone else's. So I'm going to get my father's engine head prepped for his Shibora engine, and I'm going to see. I'm going to try to machine it on my mill. You know, I've had a lot of people comment and ask me, like, hey, you know, how come you aren't working on your father's tractor? And, or like, hey, what's an update on your father's tractor? And the brutally honest answer is that, like, I haven't worked on my father's tractor. You know, like, you do a couple things, then you walk away and you get busy doing other things. But, you know, so I lost my father a few years ago, and rebuilding this tractor was something I started to do for him while he was in the hospital. And, you know, unfortunately, started on it, tore it all apart. My father passed away, and really haven't touched it since. Not that I don't want to, but, you know, I miss my pops, and it's hard working on it for whatever reason. You know, you get tied to it, you get attached to it, but what I can say is me ripping this engine apart, testing it for my mill is like starting a new spark to work on my pop's tractor again. So I guess to answer everyone's ultimate question is I think I'm going to get back to it and start working on this thing again. You know, losing my father hurt at first, of course, and but, you know, ain't doing no good sitting in here looking like an artifact. So I think this head's ready to mount. Alright. So just checking and scratching to make sure I hit, you know, I'm at where I want to be. My father's head is pretty darn screwed up. It's got a bunch of holes in it, so I think I'm going to have to take quite a bit off this thing. But again, this is my first time really ever decking a head on my own, so I need to make sure I know what I'm doing. Alright. Man, this is nerve-wracking, but I'm going to take a 3,000th. Yeah, I'm going to cut 3,000ths off. Just to start, see what happens. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Man, am I scared. So I lied, because I'm going to take 1,000ths off, because I'm spinning the head at 500 RPM, so depending on how that looks, I'm going to crank the speed up a little bit, mess with my depth of cut, etc. So, see what it does. It's really not singing that much. It's making a little bit of chatter, but so far it sounds okay. So the first pass didn't turn out too bad. I noticed I'm hitting my little injector cup nozzles here, and maybe I should have popped them out, but I'm not too sure how they come out, but it's okay if I whack them down a little bit. Man, I didn't really take that much off, but it's cutting it pretty darn good. I'm gonna cut a little more off and then see if I can get the finish to look better. So it's cutting it, you know, pretty good. The finish looks alright, but what I ended up doing was dropping my speed quite a bit. Then I rotated the insert actually a little bit, the cutting insert, because I think I was cutting it a little too fast, and I think I screwed up the insert. So I just dropped my RPM. I'm at like 350 right now, and my feed rate is real low. So I am just crawling, and we're gonna take a look and see what that finish looks like. But it already looks a lot better than what it was. So. Tell you what, just from hearing it and looking at it a little bit, it definitely likes the lower RPM on this tough cast iron, this tough Japanese cast iron. Now you can see I still got a bunch of pitting here in cylinder 1, and I got a little bit of cleanup to do on cylinder 2. Cylinder 3 looks the best. Actually, this is cylinder 1, so cylinder 1, 2, 3. So cylinder 3 is the worst by far. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all that pitting out. Again, this is just a tractor, so honestly probably just leaving that would be just fine because this jacket is heavy enough. But it would be nice to machine it down. So I'm probably going to whack it down just a little bit more. I got to be careful I don't increase the compression too much. But yeah, I don't know. I'm actually impressed with myself. So this looks pretty badass. I mean, look at that finish, huh? Look at that finish. That looks pretty darn good. Well, that's going to be a wrap for this video. I do appreciate everyone watching and everyone's support. I appreciate Spanky's support. Additionally, this was a wonderful educational experience for me. You know, I am learning in everything that I do with the machining realm. I think it's really cool how versatile this Bridgeport is. And again, this machine is from, I think it's a 1964. So it's just really cool how, you know, I can do wild shit with some really old, badass American pieces of equipment. This is going to be a perfect addition to my business. I'm going to be able to, this machine will do everything I need it to, as well as this cutting head. This cutting head is going to really allow me to expand my business into decking heads, exhaust manifolds, intake manifolds, you name it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, had a beer with me, and we'll see you guys on the next one. So long.